Lieutenant Dan, if I keep throwing the mods at you, you may wind up with legs after all.
Hello, string pickers. Run them to the noise. Let's go!
Are you really gonna look at this cute face and not subscribe?
Well, hello, all of you string picking guys and gals out there. Welcome back to the String Pickers channel. If this is your first time here,
Like and subscribe, by the way.
and in today's episode, that's right, string pickers, Lieutenant Dan has a mod done to it. You'll notice your normal Fesley guitar has 3 knobs, 2 volumes, 1 tone. Now, I've done a lot of stuff to this guitar. I have taken out the guts of this thing. I've put in some better pickups, Safew, Seymour, Duncan, Invader clones. I've put a push-pull in there to split this coil on both of these pickups. They're both wired up. Recently, I had dropped an orange drop capacitor in this, been a video or 2 back, where I was trying to test the difference between Bojack and orange drop as far as tone, and there was none. I could not find a difference in tone whatsoever to my old rock and roll ears. Done a lot to this guitar because I love the looks of this guitar. I love how comfortable the neck is. I love this guitar. I've done a lot of work to it. Yes, I have. It initially showed up just in the worst condition, but we made it ours, and that's what we do here at the String Pickers channel. However,
You mean there's more?
yes, Billy, there's more. That's what we do here. Why didn't you just stay over at John's house? Why you got to go visit him and then come back and live here? You know, you could go there. Well, string pickers, recently I had thought about something as far as Lieutenant Dan goes. I kept thinking about those tone capacitors, how one value and then the same value, as long as they are J rated, there's no difference in tone whatsoever. What it comes down to is name, longevity, durability, and the life of that tone capacitor. Now, I'm sure the Bojack capacitor would live in there forever and ever. I kept the orange drop capacitor in there just to see if over time I could tell somewhat of a difference. And I really could. Then I was searching one day, had this idea into my head. It just poof, pops right in there. I wonder if there would be a way to use more than one capacitor. String pickers, there are knobs that you can buy out there Fender makes one. It's called like a blues knob that you can put on Strats or Tellys, things of that nature, that gives you so many different voicings for your pickups. That thing costs $100. $100. Well, I got to searching and I thought there's got to be a way to make an analog version of that. So I'm not really smart when it comes to capacitors. I'm not that bright. All I know is the higher the value, the darker the tone. That's kind of been my understanding of capacitors for a long time. I know that Gibson's like a certain value, Fender's like other. It's all in the pickups. One day, I split that coil knob with the tone turned all the way up. And I noticed that not only does it cut the power, but it cuts the body out of that pickup. The roundness of the sound, the tone. When you split a lot of pickups, you sacrifice tone. It goes down to a flat, thin, brittle thing. Now, these pickups aren't really bad for that, but the hot rails that I've installed in the past have been bad for that. So I just wondered, what could I do to help that pickup when it's split to not sound so much like that? So then I came up with this. You see that? That's right. That's an 8-way switch with 8 different, not UF capacitors, the NF, nanofarad capacitors. I've put in 8 250 volt, actually 7 250 volts. One of those was 100 volt, and that was the 4.7 nanofarad. And that was the smallest one I put on there. And I stepped it up from there. As a matter of fact, I wrote it down. Let me consult my notebook. Okay. There it is. That's it. That's it right there. That's it. In position 1, we have no tone control at all. It is the regular voicing. There is tone control, but it's the regular voicing of a split single coil pickup. In position number 2 is 4.7 100 volt nanofarad capacitor. Position 3 is a 10 nanofarad 250 volt, and the rest of them are 250 volt. Position 4 is a 22. Position 5 is a 47. Position 6 is 100. Position 7 is a 220. Position 8 is a 330 nanofarad capacitor. I would like to get a huge shout out to Waylon McPherson's guitars. During my research of this, I thought that this was going to be something kind of new. You know, not a lot of people put a lot of thought into this. Only us tone chasers.
I bet money that word tonal variety is going to come up in this video.
And as a tone chaser myself, I'm forever doing it. I am forever looking for tonal variety.
Yeah, I called that one.
Look, dude, how many times do I have to say it? All tone matters. What's the problem with that? So basically, Lieutenant Dan has been a guinea pig for a lot of the mods that I've made here in this studio, because Lieutenant Dan was a $100 guitar from Amazon. I spent, I think, $120. I think now you can get the Fesley FLP 400 for around $100. Maybe, I think $89 was the last time that I seen a price on it. Kind of makes me wonder why I didn't wait. But anyway, string pickers, I try stuff out on this guitar just to see how it works before I implement it into other guitars that I have here in this studio. You guys know from the series that you watched on my Grote Telecaster guitar here that I've done a lot of mods to this one. And I put a hot rail in here made by a guy. I thought very, very seriously about putting this switch into this guitar that Lieutenant Dan has. But I didn't. And I'll tell you why. Because that pickup is bad to the bone. I'm not kidding, string pickers. I'm not. You can split this thing and it has all the body and the warmth of just one of those hot rails as it does both of them. Does this guitar need that? No, it doesn't. But I have another guitar with a hot rail in it, string pickers, that gets flat and thin when I split that coil. So what do? We test it out. and then we implement that into guitars that we are having problems with to give those split humbuckers a better tone when you pull that coil splitting knob up. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to show you exactly what process I went through. Now don't worry, I skipped through a lot of the boring parts and I just explained after the fact. I'm just showing you what's going on. I have searched and searched when I come up with this idea into my head after thinking about doing all of this stuff. I would like to shout out J-Man that actually brought up the fact that Fender made one of these. And it was kind of interesting, but yet disappointing at the same time. And I'm shouting out Waylon McPherson Guitars because this guy pulled it off. And all I did was search, got into Google, typed it in. Is there a way to revoice a humbucker when it's split? And then his video pops up and I watched the video. I've subscribed to his channel, by the way. That dude's a genius. When it comes to wiring and stuff like that, that dude is just a genius. Doesn't even know who I am, but I'm telling you, that guy, if you ever have questions about modding as far as tone capacitors, pickups, all that stuff, he is the man to watch. Waylon had a schematic exactly for this, and you guys are going to see that too. So why don't we just hop on the bench back here and I'll show you guys exactly what I did to put this in this guitar, and then I'll show you some tone samples right after. Okay guys, we've got it all buttoned up. For reference, this is what we're doing. We have put these values in here because they were on Waylon McPherson's channel and in this schematic, and we have run the center lug underneath out to the ground right here on the coil split. So when it's pulled up into the coil split position, then we can engage this. Also, we have this coming out from the center of all of these going out to ground, which I've connected to a ground here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to zip tie these wires right here together, and we're going to try and get this thing buttoned up and drill a new hole because we want this thing to live about right there. And I think that it will do. It's just above the volume knob. So I'm going to drill a small hole, a little tiny hole through that, and then come at it from the other side with tape and then drill back through so it doesn't mess up anything. And we are going to try and find us a knob besides this to put back on there. So let's go ahead and get these wires right here zip tied together because we want those to be out of the way. It helps, guys, if you have some small zip ties like this. Always makes things inside the control cavity a whole lot easier to deal with. And you can just zip tie some wires together and then you have more access to the rest of the cavity.
You were there when the lights burned low. Every comment, every show. I hear your voices in the undertow. We rise, we ride. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Crank it louder than the sky. Hear the echoes multiply. We're on the mountain again where the amps ignite. Screaming, we won't fade out of sight.
Okay, string pickers, count them with me. A one, a two, four knobs. Got four knobs on here now. And we have our two volumes and we have our coil splitting tone knob. Now, if you'll notice, full humbuckers are engaged. Hear that get dark? That is in the neutral position. Neutral position. Full humbuckers and they're getting dark. When I lift it up, this is half. Still gets dark. Not too dark. I mean, of course, I've done some. I was happy. I was happy with it. Okay, guys, and right here, what I have done is I have marked a place right here to show me that when this is pointing right here at the bridge, it is in neutral position. When I turn it clockwise, I go from the 4.7 to the 10, on and on and on, all the way around it. And I want you guys to tell me if you can hear the difference in tone on this guitar, and tell me what you think. And the beauty of this whole thing is I basically just used what you've seen in the video on the bench. These capacitors is what I used in that diagram. But I have a bunch more of these nanofarad capacitors. I have a bunch more UF capacitors. So there is a way to swap these out. I can just resolder, take the solder off, resolder in a new one on a certain leg, completely different tone when I swap it to that leg. This is just what I went with off of what he did on Waylon's video that I seen. I just had to bring this to you guys because, you know, I'm starting to learn there's a never-ending process when it comes to modding guitars. The things that you can do to this piece of wood and metal right here is just amazing. It's just amazing. So let's go through this real quick. I have my push-pull knob up in the split coil position. Now I have it to where when I split this coil, both of these pickups right here get split. However, we're only going to be hearing in the treble position, we're only going to be hearing this pickup being split. So I'm going to go through these one at a time, just to play a lick, switch, play a lick, switch, all the way around. So you guys tell me what you can hear, because I hear a difference here in the room, and I'm pretty sure it's going to come through on video. And guys, I do need to mention that we are on my clean channel, but there is absolutely no effects whatsoever. We do have an EQ on, but this is the baseline sound. That's the split coil right there. And it is in the neutral position, so we're just getting the sound of this coil. Now I'm going to play these with the tone all the way up around each position, and then play them with the tone all the way down around in each position. And the reason why I'm doing this clean is because you can really hear it good clean. It's not like you can't hear it when it's distorted or overdriven, but it really shines when you play clean tones. So position number 1, neutral position. Position number 2. This is the 4.7 nanofarad. You notice how that gets a little bit more chimey, I guess because it's such a small little capacitor. Let's go to the 10. A little bit more calm. Let's go to the next one. You notice as I'm going around, the tone is starting to shape a little bit darker as I go. Okay, so we've heard it with the tone knob turned all the way up. Let's go all the way down with the tone knob. Okay, so we're going to go through this. The tone knob is dialed all the way back to 0. The coil's split, and we're going to go through these positions. This is neutral position. You can already hear. Second position. That's the 4.7 nanofarad. The 10 nanofarad. Little bit different. Not a whole lot. I kind of like that one. That is the 220 nanofarad. Got a real nice warm sound to it. This is full pickup, split. Ain't that crazy? I mean, it's just unreal. This is the 330. Little too dark. I think, yeah, dial up the tone. Still has a lot of body, a lot of that fat, full sound, even though it's just a single coil. And then right back to neutral. Just a single coil pickup. That's the difference. That's the difference right there. Just by turning this knob one position counterclockwise and going to the darkest, this is neutral. This is position number 8. So much, it's just, it's kind of blew me away. I mean, it really has. I ended up putting this knob right in here just ahead of this one because in the cavity ends about right in here and it goes down and around. So it left enough room in there to put that in like that. But I'm going to leave that there. I think I spent like, I don't know how much. I'll put it up on the screen how much it was for the little 8-way switch that I got. I do not recommend that switch. I had a lot of problems out of it. It's just too big. It's just too big. And I had to chew away a bunch of wood in there just to get the threads to poke out on this side because the threads are very short. They're made for pick guards, more or less. Not necessarily bodies like this that you have to sand down wood and everything just to get it to fit in there for threads to come out the other side. However, they do make other 8-way switches. You could experiment with one of these things yourself. Try it out on any guitar that has a humbucker where you can split it. Or you could use these for just your tone knob. Instead of dialing back tone, you can pick a tone, go with that. The possibilities are just endless when it comes to a mod like this. Now, I know what a lot of you are going to say out there, and a lot of you are going to say, well, Casey, I don't even use my tone knob, you know. Well, Casey, I don't even worry about splitting a pickup. Well, you know what? That's you, man. That's all preference, and that's okay. But this video is for you guys out there that are constantly wondering, what can I do to make my guitar sound different? And that's it. Now, granted, these are Invader clone pickups that I have in here. That is the tonal difference that you hear in these pickups when they're split. Split by themselves, I ain't mad about that one bit because they're awesome. They really are. Those pickups are just, if you've watched this channel, you know. I talk about Safu Invader clones all the time. For $17 to $20, you can get a set of those pickups and put them in guitar and just rock and roll. They take gain so well. And they have such a great clean tone sound to them. So, but you could do this to other guitars. You have a hot rail that sounds a bit brittle and thin whenever you can reshape the whole voicing of that pickup. You can reshape the whole voicing to that and get it to something that you like just by turning a knob. Say you're just like me. Say when the camera's rolling, you ain't nothing but metal. That's everything full bore to 10 and just rocking out. But off camera, you still enjoy playing the classic songs. Maybe the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. I listen to everything, guys. That's why I'm always chasing tone. It's because I'm looking for tone for a certain genre of music. I found it for metal. I have it right here on my Headrush Flex Prime. I have one rig that I use for high gain, just one. Involves a Soldano SLO 100 rig. That's what's on there. That's what I use because it's tight, it's in your face, and it just rocks out. That's what I like. But what about blues? What about maybe jazz or country? What about rockabilly stuff? What about southern rock? That fixes the problem. You got one guitar, two guitars tops. This is like a $20 to $30 fix that you can get lots of different tones out of one guitar. So guys, that was the video today. I hope you enjoyed it. I didn't really go into in-depth detail. Feel free, this was free. You can go to Smart Humbucker Split, Waylon McPherson's guitar channel, and that's what I did. This was free. You had to enter your email address and then they send it to you that way and you can just print it out. Or you can pause the screen, screenshot this, crop it out, and print it yourself. I won't charge you a dime. This is a handy little thing to have. It's handy to have. The one thing that I did on this, and I've tried it several different ways, and I still want to get back into this and try something different. I want to add some resistors here and there to see what kind of difference I get out of it. I know when it comes to like treble bleeds on the volume knob, that treble bleeds sort of add treble to it to where your volume doesn't die off when you turn it from 10 to 8 and allows it to go down. This guitar has a treble bleed on it and right on the volume knobs for both pickups. But I wanted to introduce in here just for fun, just to see what I could do to get maybe a different tone out of these capacitors using a resistor. And when I'm talking about resistors, I'm talking about these guys. That's right. String pickers. I bought a bunch of these a while back. These are half watt 150K resistors. That's what these are. And I have experimented quite a bit with these, and a fun little thing to have, and they cost next to nothing. I'll put a link for all of this stuff that I'm talking about in the description below. I do have an Amazon affiliate link, so I will say that you can take all of this with a grain of salt, but I paid my own money for it. I get a very, very small commission from anything that any of you go into my description and order. With that being said, I would just like to say that I do appreciate the patronage. If you do, it doesn't make me a lot of money. I'm not going to retire on the percentages that Amazon has given me for the products that I'm recommending. I have to clean that up. But yeah, guys, that's all I got for you today. I really do appreciate you coming in. If you would like to see more with this, if you would like to see me do some other experiments with this, just let me know. Leave it in the comments. Tell me what you think about this 8-way splittable tone control. I mean, it's something that you would consider doing. Just something that's really cool that you could do to revoice your guitar pickups. Just leave it down in the comments below, guys. But as for now, that is all that we have for this video. As always, I pray that you and yours are having the most blessed day ever. And I pray that God is with you all. Until next time, string pickers, later.